Time for the Lowdown with Lorenzo Alexander. The Lowdown brought to you by Hutch's, redefining city dining. Lorenzo Alexander in studio with us. He is every Friday at this time. Welcome, Lorenzo. Good afternoon. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Well, we are well.
We're all sideways about the Patriots this week. Everybody, all callers, they can't,
Right.
Nobody can sleep.
Yeah, no, I hear it.
I've
been sleeping like a baby.
Yeah,
I said I've been sleeping like a baby.
That's good. That's good to hear. We were talking. Sean was on after practice with the media, and he said, "Listen, we trust our process. We trust our preparation. We trust what we're doing. We're doing things right." And that's what I told Murph a little bit about it, and the listeners too. That's kind of what you lean on.
You have to.
Every game's a big game,
right?
And this one, you prepare like it's a big game, like the rest.
Yeah, I mean, every week there's a certain standard that you want to achieve when you go out there and play, and coaches put in a plan in order to achieve that, and it doesn't change week to week. And once you start changing things based on who you're playing, what are you really doing?
Not the game plan changes,
not
but
the game plan, but the routine of how you practice.
Right.
What time meetings are, even game plan. How much stuff are you going to put in?
Right.
Because sometimes coaches get a little tight, and we got to put all this stuff in, and then it becomes overwhelming. And so, just continue your process like you would and approach them like any other team. Because once you start doing that, then you don't really have a process or an identity, because it's all over the place. Because one week you may be playing somebody that's not really good in your eyes. Next week you may be playing a team like the Patriots that are really good. I mean, and so where do you find your balance as a player?
The Patriots have always been known that certainly they're really, really talented. Got a lot of great players, starting with the quarterback all the way through the defensive side of the ball. They got a lot of guys. But the way that notoriously they win games is they execute you to death.
Right.
They just don't make any mistakes anywhere.
No, they play great sound football. Fundamentally, they protect the ball. They don't give up big plays. You rarely see them have penalties, or turnovers for that matter. And it's hard to do that for 4 quarters as a team. And they've been able to do that consistently throughout their kind of, I guess, reign over the NFL, for the lack of a better phrase.
Did Sean, are you at the point, this team at the point, 3 years into McDermott's tenure here, does he have to settle people down or talk about the process, or is it pretty much understood that, hey, this is how we approach big games?
No, I think you never can assume anything, because that's when, I have to make an ass out of you and me, and especially when you have a lot of young guys, because we are a young team, you have to verbalize that and make sure guys understand it, because you never want to just, you talk about it and kind of around it. No, you want to be very blunt and clear so everybody knows what the standard is, what our messaging is for that week. And then it allows the leadership to reflect that in how we practice and how we do meetings, and making sure nothing is changing, and be able to give that message, same thing, into the locker room and when we speak to the media.
Now, I don't want to get too far down this road before we go back and ask you about the fact that Harry Phillips, ACL, tough injury. And I know you don't have time to wait on him, and the league rolls on, but you feel bad for the guy. My question is, what kind of void does that leave? I mean, he's a second-year guy coming in, but he was really transforming himself.
Right,
early.
yeah. Obviously, Harry's great. Love him like a little brother, and it's definitely hard to see a guy that was really starting to come to his own, really starting to understand how he can play, starting to play a lot faster. And because the game before he got the game ball, and it just shows you his progression, especially losing Kyle and now losing another great communicator on the defensive line and player. It's definitely a hard void. We're going to bring up Kyle Pecco, and he's going to fill in and continue that rotation. And like you said, it's kind of like that next man up type of mentality. But at the same time, which I've really loved, is Harry still coming to meetings, still being engaged until he gets his surgery. And I'm pretty sure once he's still able to, either crutch around or scooter around, whatever it is, he'll still be back in there giving his perspective, whether it's breaking down offensive linemen, with how they like to run, and kind of being a pseudo extra coach for us as well, which is really great for a young player.
You saw him out on the practice field a couple times, right?
Yeah. He has a call sheet in his hand, looking at the things and just helping guys. I mean, it's so much value you can bring to a team outside of, obviously playing is the most value, but coaching guys up, helping them, because you see different eyes. You can maybe talk to them differently than maybe a coach would. And it really helps out the team in a whole when guys still want to contribute and not kind of go into that, woe is me, I'm a sulk because I can't be a part of the team the way I would like to be.
You got a guy who retired who comes back to practice. Kyle's been back all week.
Yeah, it's been great. He kind of pops in and pops out. It's kind of been a great resource for us. He texts us every week as far as what he sees from the opposing offensive line, the run game, some of the weaknesses that we
Who's
can.
He text? Everybody or you?
He touches everybody, predominantly me and Harrison, and then we kind of relay that message when he's not in the building. But when he's here, obviously, he shares with everybody. Just trying to, give us some points from his perspective because he did it for so long. So it's still great to still have that resource, even though he's not physically out there on the field with us.
In this game this last week, one of the highlights that keeps getting played over and over is your hit on Auden Tate.
Yeah,
I was in the back of the booth. It was in the first half. I was in the back of the Murph's booth. I don't know if I came out over the air, but that hit happened, and I give a big, ow! It was a reaction play by me because the kid, he took a little hop step and stepped right back into you. Oh, that felt so good.
Yeah, the only thing would have made it better if the ball would have came out, kind of like the A.J. Green hit, and we could have got the ball right there. But, just running to the ball, that's what we talk about. Sharks running because the player's never over. And what I found out, good defenses, there's going to be a lot of missed tackles. But if you got guys hunting it up, running hard, playing hard, you're going to get a chance to hit a guy like this. And he was 6'5", cutting back, and it was a big target, and it felt good.
You just said missed tackles on a good defense? Why?
Yeah, it happens.
Why is that?
I mean, because guys are flying, and you have great athletes in this league. It's a cutback league, and you can't always be in the perfect spot. So you're going to have guys like on that play, Tremaine overran it, but I was there to cover him up. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of times where I've overran it and Tremaine is making the play for me. So that's why you have to have that's why people love to populate the ball because there are such great athletes. It's hard to tackle guys one-on-one, and you have missed tackles, but if you have 3-4 guys around the ball, somebody's going to get a big hit.
I was trying to think all week about how the Patriots have managed to have this outstanding, really ridiculous defensive numbers. You've seen them. They're number one in every category. And I landed on this kind of Pro Football Focus stats. Patriots right now miss tackles on 6% of the plays, which is by far the lowest amount in the league. Which I'm thinking, is that it? Some people think it's because they're fast. Some people think it's because they're all smart.
I don't know.
If they're only missing 6% of the tackles.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched the defense, so I don't know how it's being played. But I know when you're getting up on people have to pass the ball. And if you catch and throw, you're throwing a deep ball, DB's there knocking down easy stuff, easy tackles. And you get away from the run game. So it's not like they have to tackle running backs constantly. So, I mean, it's probably a lot of factors that's playing into that. But that is obviously a great job as far as tackling in space.
Before we get into the lowdown, want to take a call or two? You got your earpiece in. Let's take a call. Let's go to Tom, who's on the line from Budapest in Hungary. Is that right, Tom?
Yes. Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good.
What time is it in Budapest?
Right.
I'm just in Budapest, guys. I'm sorry for the connection because it might be a little bit slow, but I've been listening to the show. I always have. I actually watch the games on Sunday. I'm not going to get into how, but I do. And I got to tell you guys, I think it's going to be the opposite of what I've been hearing and reading on all the sports talks and everything else. Is I don't think that it's going to be as close as people think. I think the first half is going to be close, like New England will do. They'll make you play left-handed. Therefore, Sweeney and Knox are going to have big games. Brown's going to get taken out, and so will Beasley. They're going to shut them down. They're eventually going to shut down our run game the first half of the game, and that's where Knox and Sweeney are going to come in, and we're going to give them a taste of the old Gronk medicine with our.
Okay.
All right.
Actually, I see that coming, and I see the second half being a big open up because we're going to actually start running the game because we could run. New England cannot. And with Newhouse being out, and Newhouse is not going to play this weekend. I know he's sick.
He practiced today. But...
Yeah, he'll be back in.
All right, thanks, Tom.
I was going to ask him what time it was. I didn't get an answer.
It's got to be midnight, right?
I know, it's
11:30?
got to be late. Could be 9 o'clock at
Gronk
night.
was a force, and in this division, we all knew what he did. In fact, Rob's coming up on the show with us with his brothers in a couple of minutes. But is it easier to look at New England and not have to start with what do we do with that guy?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously easier because he was a generational style player, but it doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
I got you.
Because
Yeah.
they still have number 12 back there and all the other weapons that go along with them. Edelman, you think about White, Sony Michel. They're just really good. Gordon outside. I mean, they still have always been able to overcome, a star player leaving. They just insert the next guy, coach him up, and then eventually he becomes a stud as well. And so I don't ever downplay anybody that's out on that field, especially when you start taking Gronk or whoever else. I know the fullback isn't playing either. Devlin. But they're going to find somebody to go out there, execute, and play. That's just what they've known for doing. And
whoever's out there, whoever out there is going to line up right. He's going to do what he's supposed
execute.
to do.
And that's all you have to do
execute.
in the NFL. If you can do that at a high level, you have a chance of being productive and impactful.
Yeah, and that's the reason they're so difficult to beat. They hit on that side of the ball all the time. They all 11 guys do what they're supposed to do, and then 3 different guys come in, and it's a different 11 guys.
Correct.
They still do the exact same thing.
Right.
They do this. That's why you've got to. You really got to play all 4 quarters against this team and get off to a fast start too, because you can't get into a spot where you have to change your tactics.
Exactly, and that's key.
One more call for you, Lorenzo, before we get to the lowdown. This one from a little bit closer, George in Cheektowaga. Hello, George. Welcome to the show. George?
Yes.
You're on the air.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right. We had no problem with the guy from Hungary. And go ahead.
I heard that.
Yeah.
First of all, I know Lorenzo's on, but I was truly at the New Orleans comeback game. I was working security that day, and after Frank threw that pick 6 to start the second half, 3/4 of the stadium left.
Yeah, it wasn't the New Orleans game; it was the Oilers game.
Yeah.
But I get you.
The Oilers game. That's what I said.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
They all came. I know what you mean about how loud it was. It was crazy. As far as winning this week, I think Brady has made his career out of timing passes and short ones over the middle. Since Randy Moss left he threw the long ones, he doesn't do that much anymore. And I think if we get the defensive line to keep pushing our defensive line to push their offensive line guys back and keep jumping and blocking those passes like they have the first couple weeks, I think we can be really effective. And if we jam their receivers at the line and break up their timing routes and stuff like that.
What do you think of that strategy, Lorenzo? What do you make of that?
I mean, it's always key. Obviously be able to win your matchups. Obviously, Tom loves to throw over the middle. Edelman, counter pass, which is over the middle. And if you can get your hands on some balls and maybe break up some of those plays, especially on, second and long, third and long, and put them in some advantageous spots for us defensively, definitely helps out. I mean, but he's always, anytime that he's off his spot or has to really worry about the rush or feel like people are in his face, like any quarterback, he struggles a little bit.
Yeah, he's not as effective, right?
Correct. And he's mobile within the quarterback, within the pocket. And so the key is to, obviously just collapse it as much as you can and have him really looking at guys that may have a chance of hitting him and taking his eyes downfield. And so, that's always the key no matter when you're playing him.
Lorenzo Alexander with us every Friday for the lowdown. He's got some keys to the Buffalo Bills game. Let's start with that. And I like your first one. I'm intrigued by your first one. Don't feed into the Patriots aura. What do you have in mind there?
And I think we've talked about this a little bit. Obviously they are, a 6-time Super Bowl champs, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. And I think teams a lot of times lose the game even before they play it because they approach the week differently. Coaches tighten up. They want to put in 15 new calls to try to stop all this stuff that they're doing. They coach different. Players are tight, and you can't play like that. You have to approach like we said, the same way. You have to have a flow that you've created. And if you have to feel like you have to change, you're doing something completely wrong. And so don't get caught up in that and who they are and or who they have been, because when you do that, Tom and Belichick, they end up come out there to destroy you because they really don't care about that stuff, what they've done. They trying to get another one. They live in the present. Right. And we have to do the same thing and not worry about what they've been and where they've been, but worry about this current game and go out there and execute.
We've been saying that all week, right? Since Monday, you and I started the history of this matchup, which is
irrelevant.
It really at 1 o'clock on Sunday it doesn't
matter,
and it's
right.
decidedly in favor of New England. We all know that. We know what those numbers are, but who cares? right, at 1 o'clock on Sunday. You guys can't worry about that.
Exactly, and half this team hasn't even been here. I
Yeah.
mean, even for the last 2 seasons that Sean has coached against his team, majority of the guys haven't even been here. This is a new team, and that's how we have to approach it. And obviously, from a fan perspective, it's a little bit different because they've lived through all that. They're still part of it, the whole thing. And so that's why there's always a little bit of a disconnect when we talk about what's a big game and how you approach it as far as fan versus player.
All right, go ahead, Steve.
Lowdown number 2, play sound football.
Yeah,
We've been
we've
talking about that
kind
the whole
of been
segment.
talking about it. I mean, that's how they win games. I mean, they don't do anything that's out of this world or spectacular. Because Tom does make mistakes at times. You have to take advantage of them when you get them. But at the end of it, they protect the football. They're sound fundamentally. They execute. They're great situational football as far as understanding, third down, second down, backed up, red zone,
Clock.
special teams, clock. They have a great sense of all that.
Timeout management, challenge management, all of that
They love to double dip, score right before the half, and then get the ball back and come back and score again. Now they're up 2 scores. They don't beat themselves as far as penalties ever, really. You see teams doing that against them, like the AFC Championship game last year. Somebody lined up off sides. They capitalized.
That cost them the game.
Right, yeah. So all these things, field position, all these things, how they play. When you look at them when they're punting or when the opposing team is punting, it's like 4th and 15. They can double vice return, and they get more field position that way. So you, as the opponent playing them, you have to be able to do all that they do and do it for 4 quarters, because they do it for 4 quarters. Right. And most teams typically crumble, and we've been, a product of this as well. Late third, early fourth, just because it's tough. It's mentally tough to play a team that's not giving you anything, and you have to be able to match that for 4 quarters.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like over the years, the last several years especially, pace has been important to their offense. Like 4th downs, they will rush to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, they do
red
that.
zone. They do
yeah,
the
they
red
sprinkle
zone.
that in. And for me, and last year, Monday night, they came out and went no huddle and base for the first series. And
ran it all
right,
the time.
and I don't think that they necessarily like doing that. They do that to get you uncomfortable and get you all flustered, and now you on the sideline trying to check everything and doing all other stuff, and that's not even their game plan. And they come back and get out of their first 15, and they doing their regular stuff, but you over there flustered about what they did 2 series ago still. So, they kind of mix it in just to kind of get you panicked. And so we constantly talk about calm breeds calm, because Tom is obviously a great manipulator of tempo, go fast, go slow. So you can't allow him to really dictate your emotions. You have to just stay calm, you're prepared, and rely on your fundamentals and technique and what we've looked at all week, and rely on that.
Now, last thing, lowdown number 3 is win your matchup.
Yes.
It comes down to every guy's got to think about his little part of the plan.
Yeah.
You got to do your thing no matter what else goes on.
Exactly, and this is another thing they do great too. Obviously, offense or defense, they always, defensively, they take away your 2 best options and figure, this other guy, we're going to make him, if y'all win, he has to have a great game. And as far as offensively with Tom Brady, they're always trying to figure out who's on Edelman, back in the day, who's on Gronk. How are you going to match up? Are your corners traveling? Are they staying? Are you playing man? Are you playing zone so they can exploit? Okay, well, we think he's the weak link. Let's go after him. So we have to be able to, obviously from a defensive perspective, not worry about Tom Brady, but the guy that you're lining up on. So for me, when I'm rushing, I'm worried about the offensive line and beating that guy, because that guy, as good as he is in the NFL, he's not Tom Brady. He's not the GOAT of all time. The receivers, whoever you line up there, they're good, but they're not Tom Brady. So if you can beat and win those matchups, whether it's rushing or defensively being aggressive and playing good sound coverage, you make Tom Brady uncomfortable, because now those passes that he's putting in, he got to be even more precise. And over time, like anybody, you eventually make a mistake, or we get a couple of hits on him and maybe he's not as crisp, and that's what you have to worry about, not so much of what he's doing and commanding and talking about, because if you get enamored with him, that's when they eat you alive.
One more thing, and that's the lowdown. Thank you for that. Before we let you go, last night, not a whole lot of good things happened for Washington last night, but they did put a former Bill, London Fletcher, his name on their Ring of Honor, and he's been an important guy in your career, hasn't he?
He's been a huge role model, a brother in my life. My career wouldn't be nowhere as near as long or as fruitful if he hadn't been in my life. So it's just a big brother, somebody I really rely on, still great friends today. Wish I could have made it Monday night, but couldn't make it out there. Wish it could have been a better game where they won, but, obviously anytime you go into the Ring of Honor, you've made a huge impact on our organization.
Yeah, it was Monday.
Good for him, man.
Yeah.
Happy, yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Lorenzo, thanks for this. Good
Lou.
luck. Stay healthy. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate
Have
you
a
guys.
great game.
Thank you.
Lorenzo Alexander with the lowdown every Friday. It's brought to you by Hutch's redefining city dining. We've got the Gronkowski brothers coming up next. Come on back for that. One Bills Live, presented by Colada Health from the Seneca Studio at One Bills Drive, and this is Buffalo Bills Radio.